fighting the Maluhans in Shivneri village. You can also see a rebel placing an IED in a school bag on the right side of the torch hut at the place from where the UN response is expected.
What you saw on the screen was these remotely operated vehicles going and checking the suspicious bag. There is widespread interest as far as the military of the African nations are concerned.
We can be able to cooperate and assist one another, especially in the areas of counter-improvised explosive devices.
Hello and welcome to the special on the print. Today I, Snehesh along with my video journalist Sajid are in Pune. Now you must be wondering what these flags are behind me. Actually, Pune is hosting the India-Africa field training exercise called the AFINDEX. That is the Ubuntu Abhyas 2023. Now this is a particular exercise that is being held by the Indian Army along with 31 nations of Africa. Now, there was a seminar that was hosted by the Indian Army in which the army chiefs from 10 countries participated, and there were delegations from 27 other countries besides representatives from the Ministry of Defense of those countries. What we'll now try and showcase is, over the course of this video, is to tell you what is happening as far as this particular relation is concerned, why India is so keen on Africa. What you see behind me is actually an exercise that is on, and it's a military exercise which has been done under the UN mandate, under which they are establishing a village here, and how rebels have taken control of the villages, harming the innocent civilians, and how the UN forces can operate together to ensure that they take control of this particular village from the terrorists and are able to rescue the civilians. So as you can see, that's a UN vehicle which has been put into action. One unique thing that you see is that even though it's a UN vehicle, remember that these are vehicles which are manufactured by Indian companies. Indian companies like the Tata Defense, the Kalyani Group, which has the Bharat Forge, they're all into the armored vehicle manufacturing, and the Tata for that matter have been able to export their armored specialized vehicles to the UN as well as other countries, besides of course supplying to the Indian Army. Now what you see on the screen is an automated vehicle which is used for bomb detection and bomb diffusion. Now this is a vehicle which has been manufactured by the DRDO, and this is, they call it the robotic arm. Now this can be manned by a human, by a soldier, and he can go ahead and defuse a particular bomb without actually coming in the harm's way. Remember that diffusing bombs are one of the critical procedures, and we have in the past, especially during the Pathankot attack, where India has lost lives due to explosion while the soldiers were trying to defuse the particular bomb that was there, a bomb or an improvised explosive device. Now, what you saw on the screen was these remotely operated vehicles going and checking the particular bag, the suspicious bag. However, a scanning of the bag revealed that there was actually not any bomb inside, but as a precaution, they are now going to detonate this particular bag with the detonated the charger that was placed by the remotely operated vehicle. And now you can also see these are vehicles manufactured by Indian companies. For example, this is a vehicle that has been manufactured by the Kalyani. Now this is another vehicle which is there that has been manufactured by the Tata. Now these vehicles are specialized vehicles in the sense that these are armored vehicles. Now the Indian Army has also started using same vehicles, and as you can see, these are the inside of these vehicles. These are mine protected vehicles. They can take in bullets, and these vehicles are now being employed in various parts as part of the UN operation, but also by the Indian Army itself. There are multiple such vehicles, and India is actually becoming a hub as far as armored vehicles are concerned. Now this is very key, because India will in future, in the coming years, will manufacture not just armored vehicles, not just for the Indian forces, but also for the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, we press you again.
The Narendra Modi government has set up a very ambitious target as far as defense exports are concerned. Remember that the latest SIPRI report has pointed out that India continues to remain the world's largest importer of defense equipment. However, India is also now exporting goods. In the last year, that is this particular fiscal, India has exported defense equipment worth rupees 13,400 crore. Now, this is a record high. Remember that way back in 2014, the export figure as far as India was concerned was only about 1,900 crore. So, one of the big focus point of this particular exercise is to also showcase in Indian indigenous systems. For example, right here, this is a drone which has the capability of carrying up to 100 kilos of load. Actually, this can carry a person itself. This is by Sagar Defense Engineering. This is called the Varuna. And then you have multiple robotic arms. These are unmanned vehicles which are all manufactured by Indian companies. The idea is to showcase the utility and the use of these equipment to the African armies taking part in this particular exercise, so that they could really understand the utility of it and eventually buy it. For example, this is a robotic vehicle which is manufactured by the Kalyani. This can move. This is an unmanned vehicle, so it can be used to actually carry various types of load. For example, ammunition, rifles, other things. It can also be used to carry out those who have been injured. So one of the big systems that have been showcased here at this particular event are the artillery guns. Now, for example, what you see on your screen right now is the ATACS, that is the Advanced Towed Artillery Gun. The DAC, that is the Defense Acquisition Council, chaired by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, has just given the initial AON, that is the acceptance of necessity for the purchase of about 300 of these ATACS. Now, remember that this is a gun that has been designed by the DRDO and is manufactured in collaboration with two private Indian companies. One is the Tata, the other one is the Kalyani Group. Now, the Kalyani Group has also showcased here the mounted artillery gun, which they call it the Mark. This is a 155mm mounted artillery system. Remember that Armenia has actually gone ahead and placed an order for this very same gun system that you see on your screen. But however, this gun system has still not been inducted into the Indian Army yet, but the Kalyani Group has managed to get an international order for the same. Now, this is an indigenous ultralight howitzer called the Bharat ULH. Now, remember that the Indian Army had gone ahead and purchased ultralight howitzers from the BAE Systems. This is an American gun system. That is actually a titanium one, and the material used here is steel. Now, these guns are highly beneficial for the Indian Army because these are easily transportable. They can be moved from one location to the another, and this comes especially handy in mountainous terrain. Like the ultra-light howitzers that have been purchased by the Indian Army have already been deployed along the LAC, both in the northern sector as well as in the eastern sector. Now, these particular guns are easily, transportable in the sense they can be hooked onto a Chinook helicopter of the Air Force and then can be lifted from one location to the other. Now, similarly, the Indian companies have showcased multiple gun systems here, which they are hoping would make eventually inroads into Africa. Now, India goes ahead and gives a line of credit of close to about 10 billion as far as the African Union is concerned. And India is hoping that these countries would actually use some of these line of credit to actually go ahead and beef up its military. Now, you saw the artillery, the indigenous artillery system. Now I'll showcase to you the multi-barrel rocket launchers. Now, this is the Pinaka system. Remember that this particular system has already been sold to Armenia. This is a system which has a range of about 70 kilometers. Now, the DRDO is already working on new kind of rockets for this particular system, which will ensure that the range actually increases. This has 12 barrels, which means at any given point of time, it can fire a barrage barrage of 12 rockets at a time. As you can see, there is widespread interest as far as the military of the African nations are concerned. They have been taken around and been showcased various kinds of products for them to understand, what are the possibilities that could be there as far as their own acquisition program is concerned. While the Indian defense industry has made much inroads into what you saw, the tanks, the rocket launchers, artillery, one particular sector in which India falls behind, surprisingly, is the small arms. And it's quite surprising here that at the display here, the Indian Army has showcased the small arms, but none of these small arms are of Indian origin. They are Russian, they are Swedish, they are American. For example, here you have the Sako sniper rifle, which is used by our special forces. This is not an Indian rifle. Similarly, you have the Negev LMG. This is an Israeli light machine gun. The Indian Army has gone ahead and purchased these from Israel. The Israeli weapons industry has tied up with PLR, which is now part of the Adani Group, to manufacture these light machine guns here in India. But all the small arms that have been showcased here, for example, this is an MP9, again a foreign firearm. This is actually, they have also showcased the 6A 716. These are the ones, that have been bought from the US by the American Army, by the Indian Army as part of an emergency procurement. So as you can see, well, they're showing a lot of indigenous content as far as artillery, as far as radars, as far as tanks are concerned. When it comes to small arms, India still lags behind. And surprisingly, and it's actually a wonder why the Indian companies are not able to really manufacture small arms. Well, I have with me here Lieutenant Colonel Omao. He's from the Kenyan Army. Welcome to India,
Thanks so much.
Colonel. As far as this Africa-India exercise is concerned, how do you see it? Is it a good step forward?
Yeah, I think it's a good step forward because we have seen the capability of India in terms of the humanitarian mine action, on where they can be able, we can be able to cooperate and assist one another, especially in the areas of counter-improvised explosive devices. Because we realize that in Africa, most of the areas are now, IDs have been planted almost in most of the countries where there is conflict.
Yeah.
Because if in case you go to Somalia, we have the IDs. If you go to Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, you go to the Western Africa in countries like Mali, we have the improvised explosive devices. So now this makes a very important exercise because now we can see on how we can be able to cooperate with one another to assist to reduce that menace, that problem that is seriously now affecting the African countries.
So there is scope for much more collaboration, much more in the coming years.
Yeah, I think moving forward now, this is an area where we have now to come in as countries from Africa and also India to see how now we can be able to reduce that kind of threat that is seriously affecting most of the parts of Africa.
Well, there you go. That was Lieutenant Colonel Omao telling us about the scope of cooperation that is out there. He's happy that India and the African nations are coming together. They're exercising, the interoperability increases, and hopefully in the future you will have much more deeper ties between India and the African armies. The journey doesn't end here. Actually, the journey begins here. So in the years to come, what you will see is a deeper cooperation between India and the African nations. This is the first such kind of an exercise that has been held. This would be most likely be a biennial event. This is Snehesh. Do subscribe to our Print's YouTube channel for more such videos.